I've realised it just doesn't matter. Anyone that's talking shit online, basically they're a loser.
I don't know what you guys have changed since then, but like, how has that business model been playing out for you guys? Like, how are you looking at it? Like, how are you growing this thing?
Creatively, I was just stunned. I'd been at the edge like 20 years. I have this weird thing in radio where it's like, say it's Dom's birthday on the air, but don't say how old he is because we don't want the kids to know that he's in his 40s. She just said, fuck, I love admin. Is Lord sitting at home on Reddit like talking shit about people, or is she writing comments under a fake name on TikTok? I doubt it.
On today's episode, I got Dom Harvey, who after 30 years of radio, went out on his own, started his own business and his own podcast. In today's episode, he talks about how he did it and the mindset he needed to achieve it all. All right. Hey, welcome to the podcast, Dom.
Stan, it's great to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here finally.
Great. I was honoured to get the invite.
No, mate. I'm honoured to have you on it. You've been in the office once before, talking to Connor actually, coming from a meeting, and we've obviously been following each other for a little bit, so I'm pretty stoked to have you on here. Also, a little bit like it was the same with JJ, like slightly intimidated when you're interviewing people who do this for a living, like you. This is your job to interview other people and talk to people. So I'm gonna I got some beats I want to hit, like we said. But I'm gonna take a little bit of freestyle and just take it where it goes because I want to see where this interview takes us.
I love that, and don't be nervous or anything because I do this for a living, but I'm terrible at it. Like I stopped doing any editing on my own podcast because I'd find I'd go through. Edit it, and all I'm really taking out is my ums and ahs and my stutters, and then at the end of it I'd be full of self-loathing and I'd be like, oh god, I'm shit, I'm a piece of shit. So I just stopped doing it.
That is interesting. Actually, that's a good place to start because I think a lot of people who are creators or make content for a living or entertainers or whatever are pretty self-critical. And you've just said that for yourself. Like, has that been something that's been part of the career for a long time, or is it something new since you've been out on your own doing things? Like, did you feel the same way in radio?
Oh yeah, there's always been a healthy amount of self-loathing there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I've got a complex relationship with it because in some ways I think it's kind of maybe like a kind of a superpower because it keeps you hungry, keeps you driving. Keeps that sort of growth mindset, but also in other ways I know it's incredibly toxic and unhealthy, and I should allow myself to be proud of myself and give yourself a pass card on things.
Has it?
No,
because it is interesting because you just said that like it's been ambitious enough to keep you doing things. You've obviously had a pretty stellar career in New Zealand and around the radio and now podcasting, so it's allowed you to push forward and do quite a bit of stuff. But has it ever stopped you from doing things?
No.
Interesting.
No.
Yeah.
No. Oh. Actually, no, that's a lie. It probably has over the years.
Yeah.
I've got a better relationship with this now, but yeah, definitely over the years, I would have been worried about doing things for fear of what people will think or what people will say. And again, like people I don't know about, people online, people behind my back or whatever. Yeah. And I don't know if this is something that's just come with age or self-confidence or whatever, but now I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah, good.
Like
Good.
So it makes no sense. Like why should you be held back by people who you don't even know, whose opinions don't even matter?
Yeah. And so like without getting into the things, I think it'd be interesting for people to hear you say that's how you felt, that you were worried about people think. Because like I don't know about you, but like your persona publicly is like quite loud and confident, and a lot of people would think that it's Dom Harvey, like he would never feel like that, like he's just out there all the time and he puts himself out there all the time. But you're actually saying that like actually internally there were some thoughts of going, shit, what are people thinking about me and whatnot? And these days it's just like, who gives a fuck?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time. By the way, a lot of that persona was probably like my radio persona because you have to be like an exaggerated version of yourself, because otherwise it's just boring.
Yeah.
But there was probably a period of time there where I would have loved to have tried stand-up comedy, and I never did because I thought people would be wanting me to fail, people would be laughing if it doesn't work, and I look back now and it's like that's just so dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb. Yeah. So with the knowledge I've learned now that I'm like I'm practically a boomer. I'm like a 52-year-old man. But I just like urge people to give anything a go.
Yeah.
And do not be held back at all by anyone else's opinion because it just doesn't fucking matter.
No. When did that switch in your head happen? Do you know?
It's probably been the last few years actually since I got out of radio and I've been on my own.
Yeah.
And you just in radio you're sort of cocooned. Like in radio, You don't have to do any sort of networking or anything. I actively avoided going out. There's salespeople that take care of everything, so you just have to worry about the entertainment. Since I've been doing my own thing, like, you're the salesperson, you're the guest booker, you're the host, you're everything. And it's just I don't know. And I suppose just the conversations I've had and the people I've spoken to, I've realised it just doesn't matter. And anyone that's talking shit online, basically they're a loser. No, seriously, is Lord sitting at home on Reddit like talking shit about people, or is she writing comments under a fake name on TikTok? I doubt it. She's too busy being Lord.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I love that you talk about when going out on your own, because I was the same. So when I used to run hotels for a living prior to this business, like, I would never want to speak publicly. I'd never have done a podcast. I didn't want to go do sales. I had salespeople for that and all that sort of stuff. And I was the same. I didn't want to network. And then I went out and did it for myself. And I think at first I was like kind of nervous to do it. And then I just did so much of it because I somehow convinced my then girlfriend, now wife, to leave our great life in Melbourne and move here and start a business from scratch. So I couldn't not do it, because she'd be like, mate, if I gave up my job for you to do this, you better fucking get out there and do something about it. But the reps I got in, and as I talked to more people, I got to the same point where I was like, none of this fucking matters anyway. Like, it's all full of shit, kind of, actually. Like, I'm full of shit, everyone else is full of shit, which made it way more palatable for me to do stuff, because I realized that we're all just here trying to do things, and the more I did it, the less I got it wrong, probably. I realized that I started to find like my feet on things. And so did you find that as well? Like, so you went out on your own, you were just doing more of these things you were never doing, and then realizing it was actually not as hard as you thought, or not as bad as you thought?
Not as bad as I thought.
Still hard.
Just not as bad as you thought. Like, so you ask someone to sponsor your podcast and they say no, and it's like, it hurts a little bit. And then you realize it's nothing personal, and you hear no again and again and again, and then the word loses its power and its impact, and the fear of asking for, when you realize no is the worst answer you can get, and it doesn't hurt at all, life becomes quite exhilarating in a way.
I love that. It's exactly how I feel. And in my way, is like, the more no's you're getting, there's going to be a yes at some point if you just keep asking enough. So every no just takes you closer.
Every no takes you closer to a yes.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me, like, why leave radio and get into podcasting? Like,
I think like creatively, I was just done. I'd been at the Edge like 20 years. It's a top 40 state. It's considered like a youth brand. I don't know if any youth is actually listening to radio anymore, but it's considered a youth brand. I felt like, you see our videos of the Jackson 5, and there's the real tall guy in the band. I kind of felt like that. Like, I felt like I was still there, and my birthday would roll around each year, and they have this weird thing in radio where it's like, oh, you can, say it's Dom's birthday on the air, but don't say how old he is, because we don't want the kids to know that he's in his 40s, and so there's just, you have to stop being authentic. And it also got to the point, like, I didn't try any less hard over the years, but you realise I'm working my ass off, and it's actually, you can't actually move the needle. Like, there's, no matter how, like, there's things I've found, like, I love running. If you follow a 12-week marathon program and you do the speed work and you do the long runs, you're going to get the time that you deserve on the day. Same as the gym. You go to the gym, you lift weights, you'll get stronger. Radio doesn't necessarily work that way. There's a whole lot of factors. So you're working your ass off, and the cynic in me is like, oh, it might make an impact, it might not. But there's so many other factors that go into it. So just felt like time for something new.
Interesting. And why podcasts? Just because of the natural transition, or?
Felt like transferable skills. And it also felt like from me, it felt like a no-brainer, in the respect that it's like radio is like free-to-air TV, podcasting's like a streaming platform. Like, it's just audio on demand. It made so much more sense. And like, I've been doing the podcast for like 3 years now. I regret not doing it sooner, I think.
Interesting,
like, I was, and it was probably fear. It was probably a comfort zone thing, a fear thing, a security thing. All those things.
What's some of the things that scared you from starting it? Like, just that same like self-loathing or like fear of what people were saying or whatever it was.
Yeah, how hard it was going to be,
Yeah.
that it would suck, that
Yeah.
it wouldn't work, that, giving up a salary to do
Yeah.
this. And I look back now, and I've grown so much as a person in the last few years, and it's I'm not kicking myself in a way, but it's like I creatively I was holding myself back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked about like going out and finding sponsors and whatnot. Like, tell me about the commercials of the podcast. Like, I know that you do more than just your podcast, and we'll get to PodLab and stuff soon. But like, those commercials for the podcast, like, how has that played out for you over the last 3 years? And like, just give me some insight into like, or what you can share about like how you've made money with the podcast.
Oh, I'll share everything.
Yeah,
This
cool.
is one thing. Before we started recording, I said
Yeah.
this is one thing I love about you and what you've done. You share everything. So I launched the podcast.
Yep.
I realised that there's ads that are inserted if you're on on a hosting platform called Acast, and they've got an office in Australia, and they've got some boots in the ground in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So they place some ads automatically in the podcast, and you get a bit of money from that. But I mean, if you're Joe Rogan with 11 million listeners a week,
Yep.
it's going to be massive. If
Yeah.
you're a successful New Zealand podcast with say 30,000 a week, it's fuck all money.
Yeah.
So I thought sponsorships, the way to go was either like finding a sponsor,
Yeah.
or like a paywall sort of situation. And
Yeah.
I was reluctant to do that.
Yeah.
So I went with the sponsorship thing. So I launched the podcast maybe in the first quarter of 2022.
Yeah.
And then Dion Nash from Triumph and Disaster, he called me up. He was like, hey, mate, I really like what you're doing. The team really like what you're doing. We don't have a lot of marketing money, but how about we give you a few $1,000s, get some runs on the board, and maybe that'll encourage some other businesses. Yeah. And he was dead right, actually.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So Triumph and Disaster got on board. Then there was some other small deals with Huawei. They had a running watch out to promote. Then this Hamilton startup called Radix Nutrition, they came on board, and they said to me, we really like Diary of a CEO. That's sponsored by Huel. We see ourselves as the Huel of New Zealand.
Got it.
What does podcast sponsorship look like? Yeah. So I was just honest with them. I said, look, from where I am to where I want to be, it'd be great to have, say, like $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And they came back with a slightly smaller amount, but they were really, really supportive and encouraging.
Amazing.
So at the time when they jumped on board, I didn't even have a video set up.
Yeah.
I just had a Rodecaster Pro, which is what you've got
yeah.
in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
A couple of cheap microphones. I'd take the kit in a bag round to someone's house and plonk them on the table. Have my phone leaning up against a coffee cup. But they invested in me because they believed what I was doing, and they allowed me to grow, and I'm indebted to them to this day.
I love it.
Yeah.
Are you still with them now?
No, they were on for like 18
say,
months. But I had a meeting with them yesterday. They're looking at coming back on and doing some bits and pieces. But I'm humbled by the gratitude. Like I look back on the journey, and they were just kind of feels like you're climbing a tree. So you get to a branch and then you have to wait for the next branch. And they allowed me to climb a few branches on the tree.
Yeah, interesting. So with your sponsorships, it's always been like hey, we're going to pay for the reach that you're getting is kind of the deal, the transactions that you had with people so far.
Yeah.
Because you brought up actually Dara, CEO of Huel, right? Because like that's an interesting model he has, because he only puts products on his show that they give him equity for. Have you ever thought about that as a model, like saying to them, like, don't just pay me, like give me a percentage of the company?
No.
Because that's what he did with Huel, right?
Right.
So
I didn't know that.
He actually, every product he ever sponsors, he'll only do it if he can have equity.
Right, so it's a whole ecosystem.
So in his office in London, he's got all the startups that he owns. He's got interest in. If they fit with the cultural fit of his bigger, wider team, he'll like bring them into his office. So he's got an office way bigger than ours, but like say next door would be the office for Huel, and then the one over will be for his hard tea that he sells and all this sort of stuff. So like that's an interesting model. Like saying to these guys, the guys that you've already worked with, like, why not give me some equity in this? And then if their business is growing because of yours, and you both win.
Oh, I don't know if I'm smart enough or I have the confidence to ask for that. Wow.
It's an interesting model, though.
It's a very interesting model.
Because you think about it, like, say you did that 3 years ago, whatever the growth of their company has become, like, you would have grown with it as it's grown. I think it's a good model to look at when you already have the brand, because people are buying attention. That's what they're trying to buy by investing in you.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard for brands to do that. Like most brands suck at trying to do this, especially startup brands. Like they're not very good. I mean, that's the only reason we have a business is because people pay us to help them do it for themselves. Them. So what they would pay us to do that is quite a lot more than what they would be giving to you initially. And like, they might only give you 1 to 3% of it. But if that company takes off, like, and they end up being this global company, and your podcast take off and sell a whole bunch of their stuff, like it's a win-win for both of you.
That's interesting. So if someone approaches me and they're a very small company on the ground level, maybe they don't have big budgets, that would be the way to get it.
Potentially. If you believed in the company, like if you believed in the product, if it was saying that you would use, that you're like, actually, I would use this myself, so I'm actually just replacing my spending on a product like this by getting free product off you plus equity in the business. That's what he did with Huel, actually. That's what Stephen Bartlett's like quite openly talked about, how Huel came to him. He was using it anyway. Well, he needed protein shakes because he's quite avid in the gym and whatnot. And he was like, look, I really love your product. It's great. Give me equity, and I'll put you everywhere. And then that's what he did, and it just blew up from there. I mean, they've obviously got other marketing activities that they do, but it just blew up from there. Now he's a big investor in it.
That's so smart. Jeez, I almost forgot we were doing a podcast. It's like I'm just picking your brains for my own personal gain.
No, it's good.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. But you've got to understand that, like, for you, you might have gone, say, 10K a month is where you wanted it to be or whatever. You might have been like, I'm going to give up, instead of getting 10K a month, I might getting 2 or 3K a month. But I've got this equity side of it as well. And that might not pay off for 6-7 years. But I think especially for someone at like your stage of your career, like that could be really good because you could be 60 and have all these investments pay off. And then you'd be like, well, I'm 60, I can fucking do whatever I want now because I've just had all these businesses exit and pay me out, kind of thing. Because that's the thing with you take these investments. You have to understand, like if you're 20, it might be a bit harder because you might not have had any career and you need the money right today just to pay your rent kind of thing. But like different stages of your career, you can make it slightly different, I guess, risks assessments on whatever it is. So if you can afford to have maybe a slightly lower revenue, but you're getting paid in equity of the business, then it could work out for you. You're going to have to decide that for yourself and whether or not it's the right thing. Or the alternative is you just put out more content and you get more sponsors for more of it. That's the other way to do it as well. It's like, however, how much content you can get sponsored.
Yeah, it's about figuring out that piece of the puzzle. And that's the exciting thing. Like, it's fairly new. I mean, it's been around a while. It seems weird calling it new media, but it is called new media. And it's like there's a bit of a ecosystem of people, and we're all sort of trying to figure it out at the same time. And it's exciting.
Yeah, especially in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
New Zealand's already behind the 8 ball a little bit compared to the rest of the world.
A long way behind.
I was being generous. What do you think's the growth for your podcast? How do you see it growing? Just continuing to build the audience and then selling it that way, or have you thought about other ways of monetizing or a business model for it?
Just growing it, really. Yeah, like seeing the growth over the last 3 years. And particularly like the last year, it's been sort of exponential, really. Like if you like drill into the YouTube back end and stuff like that, the analytics are crazy. So I'm loving it. So I just want to keep doing what I'm doing.
So as long as it just keeps building, you're pretty confident that the money will follow.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. There's a saying, do what you love and the money will follow. And I love what I'm doing and I feel really passionate about it. So as long as that passion's there, like it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. What for you, why has it grown exponentially in the last few years? Like for people who are starting podcasts or people like me who are building a podcast, what is that advice to making the podcast start to grow? Like what have you found work?
It's a real boring answer. Just consistency, really. Yeah. Just consistency. That's it. Yeah, I wish there was a magic bullet. I mean, you might get lucky and have like an exponential growth like episode, like an outlier episode. But then if you have exponential growth, you're likely to have an exponential fall afterwards.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's just grinding week in, week out. Hopefully the guest collabs on a post and then suddenly their audience may check out the podcast. They'll either like it or they won't. And then they might come back and sample it. But with every episode you're putting out, that audience is just slowly So just grinding. No special sauce. I say it to a lot of people, but they don't believe me. Well, that's what. So I'm up to almost like episode 250 now of my podcast, and there's like a huge diverse range of New Zealanders I've had on. And hard work is the only cheat code, really. That's it. It's so boring.
And do you is it still all you managing it?
Yes.
Have you got anyone else in the team helping you with it outside of like, well, yeah, who else is in the team helping you do it?
So once I got Radix Nutrition on board,
Yeah.
there's a mate I used to work with in radio called Dougie, who's got a film and TV background.
Cool.
So he came around and he turned the spare room at home into like a 3-camera studio setup with
Amazing.
some lights. So that was good. So that took me to the next branch of the tree.
Yeah.
So I invested in him. With the Radix money, then I invested in this guy called Marcus Logan from Via Digital.
Yep.
And he took pretty much all that Radix money.
Yeah.
So I wasn't paying myself, but I just went all in on the social media marketing, and that's been a game changer.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
That's
So,
been
so
huge.
really just 2 people.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
you do all the admin, finding all the guests, booking
Yes.
them all in, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a full-time job in its own.
Oh, it's not bad though. It's sending a few DMs out.
Yeah. I always say that to a lot of like people trying to start a podcast. Like, actually, for me, it's the hardest part. It's just booking guests. It's just like the admin, that keeping up with it. Like Mel, who helps me and who like reached out originally, and I could never do that role. Like I just couldn't.
Why?
I couldn't be consistent at it. Like there's an admin thing that my brain just hates. And I can't do it. Like I hate administration work. I've got an EA, I've got an ops manager who does a lot of the back of house and all my finance stuff. And then I got Mal, social media manager. I can do all the other things. I can do all the big thinking and all the creative stuff. But as soon as it comes to like administration or reaching out or like these manual tasks, I just lose my mind over it. Like and I'll do it for a bit because if I have to, like I'm not just gonna like sabotage the whole business because I can't be bothered sending ATTN. Like I'm not stupid, you know what I mean? Like it's not what I'll do. But it is quite like a hard thing for me to keep up. Is that for you not a problem? Like you just find it pretty easy to reach out to people, get connections?
Admin is definitely my weak point.
Yeah.
And I'm so crap at it, and I'm so crap at technology, and my self-esteem drops a little bit. You know, like I still like having like a written diary where I write Stansplaining podcast 11 a.m.
Okay.
We've got the Google Calendar and stuff, and JJ's just like, but just put it in the Google. And it's like, my brain needs to see things on a bit of paper. But it's just hunger. It's hunger, I think, and the need to do it. So I know I'm putting out 2 episodes a week, so I just need to get busy and I need to reach out to these people. Sometimes there's a bit of back and forth, which is annoying, like you know, like locking in a time for someone or cancellations. But generally, I don't mind it. If I reach out to someone and they or even better, if they reach out to me and say they want to come on. It is so humbling.
Yeah.
I'm constantly surprised.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I'm going to switch tasks a little bit about PodLab. So tell me about the business. Like, it's one thing starting a podcast, which, you know, no one in New Zealand really knows how to make money from. And so they've just seen you go from like top 40 radio station to do a podcast. And then you've gone and gone, well, you know what else would be even better is to start a podcast studio that also no one else in New Zealand does, or very few do. Why the
Yet.
Yet. I agree with you. Yet. I think you're right on the money there. But like, why that? Like, why a podcast studio?
Well, this sort of came about organically as well. So I had the spare room at home set up like a podcast studio, as I explained before. And I had a couple of mates, a friend of mine, Sophie, who does a podcast called The Curve, a mate of mine, Andy, that does a podcast, The Andy Rowe Show, and another one called The Good, The Bad, The Rugby in NZ. He was coming back to New Zealand, she was coming back to New Zealand, and they were like, we need a space. So they, used the spare room at home to do their podcast. And that made me think that potentially there's a market for it, for people that are visiting the New Zealand that want to do it, or creators that want to do their own. So, and the space became available, this commercial space with a podcast that was built originally by Red Bull.
Okay.
Red Bull was in there when they were doing content, then 660 had it as their rehearsal space.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I said to JJ, the timing's not right, but when is the timing ever right? But we should do this. So we just went all in, and she quit her job at More FM, and then we're away, and we're just trying to figure things out as we go along. With no real. First of all, neither of us have any sort of business sense.
No.
We don't really have a business plan. But we just like trying to figure things out as we go along.
Yeah, I think it's the best way. And obviously, I talked a little bit with JJ about this as well. But I think business plans are a dumb thing. I think an idea is all you need. And I think your idea is good, is that there must be a market there if some people have already done it. But like one thing I said to her was like, how do you like what are the commercials of it? Like I remember looking at your studio, thinking at what was on your website, and I said this to JJ, like, I should just hire you guys to do all our podcast production for our clients, because I can't even do it for that cost here with myself. So like, I don't know what you guys have changed since then, but like, how has that business model been playing out for you guys? Like, where did you come? How did you come up with those numbers? Like, how are you looking at it? Like, is it all just pulled out of your ass? Like, how are you growing this thing? Because, and like, I remember saying to JJ, like, and she was like, honestly, Dad, they just came out.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we've got our studio manager, Jazz. She's from a TV background, her and her partner Holly. So we just like pulled figures out of our ass, and they're like, oh, they should be higher than that.
Yeah.
But my sort of approach, I said to JJ, we can always adjust the prices. If we're too busy, put them up. If we're not busy enough, put them down. You know, like I've got a real healthy relationship with failure now.
Cool. Love that.
So yeah, it's like a stepping stone to success.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's like just try something, and if it doesn't work, we try something else.
Yeah, I love it. And do you, with the podcast studio itself, like, what does that grow into? Like, well, how does that business? What does success look like for you guys when you can point to PodLab and go, it's crushing it right now? Like, what does that look like?
Making enough money each week to cover all the expenses.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's the first step we got to get to. It's like my girlfriend keeps telling me off for saying this, because she thinks I should say business is booming, but it's like the reality is the expenses are that much. This is how much we're making, but it's going up.
Yeah.
You can see it. It's going up every week.
Yeah.
So I feel very confident. I've listened to so many business and entrepreneur podcasts, and they talk about, maybe it taking a couple of years, before you start to see that.
Yeah.
So I feel very confident about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're trying a bunch of different things, and the income's coming from places that we never really thought.
Yeah, okay.
In areas where we thought there'd be income, it's like, okay, we might sort of move away from that. But we just, I don't know. I've sort of found with my podcast over the last 3 years, if you start walking in a direction and you take steps every day and you keep moving, even if you don't know exactly where you're heading towards, you're going somewhere.
Yeah. I live by that quote, right? Of like, the businesses that succeed are the ones who didn't quit. Like if lots of people just quit in business because it got too hard or things going right, like our business constantly is going through, like people see us growing, they're like, oh, you guys are doing so well and you're building all these people. But, like right now, like cash flow sucks. Like I'm like, it's the end of the month. What do we got? One more day. And I got to do payroll and do all the bills, and it's just going to empty the bank account. There'll be no money left. There'll just be like, there's like $250,000 in there right now, and they'll all be gone tomorrow. And it's just gone. But so it could be really easy just to quit, because it'd just be easier, because like I could just go back and get a job and like earn probably the same as I'm earning now, technically, of what I take home. But I know that like in the future, the business will eventually pay off and it'll be worth, and I'm building this asset. But if you just don't, the ones who succeed are just the ones who didn't quit. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. So I kind of like how you think about it too, because that is, I think, the only real way to win in business.
It's daunting though. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like I was in at work at 7:30 this morning. There's been a couple of times this week I look at my watch. It's like getting to 6 p.m. It's like, I should be getting home. I don't want to, like in radio you have like 4 or 5 weeks annual leave a year, and you sort of crawl towards December and the Christmas break. I just haven't been feeling that,
Yeah,
like
cool.
I'm so charged about what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's a great space to be in.
So tell me, you get to break even. I love that. It's just classic entrepreneur. It's so good. If any business owner watching, they'll understand. So you get to break even. Then what? Like, what is this podcast? Like, does it evolve into something else? Like, do you see it growing into maybe a small little media company running other people's podcasts? Like, what does it turn into? What do we hope?
We've got so many sort of blue sky thinking plans, and we're not really sure. Like, it'd be great to have like pod labs like around the country.
Yep. Cool.
Like a studio that people can go into. There's a couple of podcasts that we're doing for corporates where we're taking care. They want a podcast. They didn't know what they wanted, so we came up. We had a consult with them. Came up with the ideation, and we're just taking care of the whole thing from start to finish. So it could go in that direction. Independent creators coming in, probably not so much. Because we found the independent creators that come in, that the two things they want to know is, how can I build my audience and how can I monetize it? Actually, every single independent that's come in that's got the prices and wants to know questions about monetization, they're like, sweet, I'm going to go away and find a sponsor, then I'll come back.
Yeah.
And they never come back.
Come back.
Not one person has come back. So we try and manage those people's expectations and say it's very difficult to sell something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to sell a dream to someone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I deviated from the question there. So I'm not sure, but we've got all these ideas.
Yeah.
We could end up with like salespeople that try and fill that sales piece for people.
Yeah.
But we don't really know. We'll just like when we reach break even and then we've got a bit of money, then we'll look at hiring another person and. That could be a salesperson. It could be something else.
Yeah, interesting. I find it real interesting because I think like studio hire. I mean, we've got our studio down the road, which is more content studio. It's got a cycle and whatnot. And Connor's the producer today. He's in charge of like selling it and whatnot. And there's like there's a fee structure and whatnot to do it. But in my mind, it's like it's like a real grind. It's like a proper real grind for us. And I think Connor will do it and he'll figure it out just because he's stubborn as shit, but he'll figure it out because of it. But he needs to, and he'll grind at it too. He's kind of like you and I, like he'll just put one foot in front of the other. But and he'll learn a lot about business doing it. But I think like the thing I think is wrong with that model is that for someone like yourself who's got like such a big brand and JJ with you as well, like it doesn't scale very far. And I actually think that like what ends up happening is the media side of it like ends up being where the opportunities come from, because your podcast will only grow, will only get bigger and bigger as you put more energy into it. You might potentially like help other people build theirs or whatever. The thing I think you'll find out is the commercial model around selling for media is the thing that will end up taking off, because you think about one sale for like the nutrition guys compared to one sale for the podcast studio, just how much more revenue you get from a few thousand a month, whatever it is, compared to like the podcast. I would look at the podcast as like we're the experts of the space, therefore we're the best to bring podcasts to life, as opposed to we've got a space you can hire. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I fully agree with that. That's one thing we've discovered already. Like we're not gonna get rich, or even actually not even about getting rich. We're not even going to be able to pay ourselves just by hiring studio space. We're just not.
It's more the consulting side, as you think, from when you're talking the corporates.
Yeah, and creating podcasts for people, and having them really happy with the results. But we're really enjoying just figuring this all out. And JJ and I, even though we didn't work as a romantic partnership, we just have a great working relationship. So I'm probably more like you, like a blue sky thinker, whereas she's more of a doer. She was sitting at her desk just like a week ago, and just out of the blue, like there was no conversation going on. She just said, "Fuck, I love admin." When have you ever heard anybody in the history of the world use those words in that sequence?
Especially an ex-radio host.
So I think, and I haven't seen her this happy in a long time, and I think in radio she was just sort of underutilized, understimulated.
That's real interesting. I find that fascinating too. Like, I think from the outside it looks like the Pod Lab has become this new business, and I think from most people think, they rent out podcast studios. But what I like about what you said there is how I think too is like, you don't make money from the thing, you make money from all the surrounding stuff that comes with it as well, like consulting and being the experts and stuff and whatnot. And I think you're right. I think like in New Zealand there's a big opportunity for podcasts to do so much more. I mean, we've already seen the model prove globally. Do you think that New Zealand can sustain like a number of podcasts or people doing podcasts? Like, do you think the market's big enough here for it?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me about that. Why so confident?
Okay. Well, I've got a PodLab business, so
they need it to be.
I'm going all in. One thing we hear is like, isn't the market saturated? But it's like, I feel like I truly believe it'll get to the point where businesses see having a podcast as having like an Instagram page or a website. So it's not about being the next Joe Rogan or Call Her Daddy or Stephen Bartlett. It's about just having this thing there to communicate with your customers.
Yeah.
Because I feel confident about that because we've only been open 7 months, and the amount of like B2B podcasts that we've done for people, you're like, oh, they get it.
Yeah.
So we've had some people that come in, they do a podcast, and they're like, oh, I've only got like 80 listeners or whatever. And then you got these businesses, and they don't care. They're proud of the content, and the audience it's reaching is the right audience.
Yeah, that's interesting. That they're not doing it necessarily to go viral and have massive brands. They're just doing it because it's communication to an audience and customers.
Yeah, and quite cost effective at that.
Yeah, especially B2B. That's interesting that you tapped onto that because most people wouldn't think B2B as being a primary target. They're going to think about like stuff that's far more consumer led. You know, especially when you think about like who sponsors these, like Huel sponsoring Diary CEO. So it's real consumer focus. But actually, the B2B podcasts, they only need one sale like a year from the podcast and it probably makes it, right? Like what sort of, you don't have to say the names of the companies because there's probably something there, but like what type of companies are coming through when you say B2B? Like for people listening, what does that mean?
Okay, one example is like this financial institution that's come in. So the CEO comes in, he does a video piece like once a month and just shares it on their website and on their podcast platform. And I don't know the back end, like I don't know how many listens they get, but they're really happy with the content and they just want to be in that space.
So they come in and they from your perspective, the work is help you design what the podcast is going to look like and then record and produce for them, or just like what
oh, they knew exactly what they wanted in that particular case. But there's been a couple of podcasts already where we have like an initial consult meeting, we go backwards and forwards, say some ideas which we think will work, and then they've just like left it with us. So we organise the host, come up with the questions, come up with the concept. Another thing we've learned is valuing our time a little bit more. Like in the first couple of months, someone would come in for a meeting, you'd sit down with them for an hour, sometimes 90 minutes, and then they'd leave and you realise, fuck, we just gave them all our IP. We gave them all our knowledge. So now we've got a thing where, like, if you come in for a meeting, like a consult, you know, you pay a fee, and then after that, you can get the first hour of studio time free. But people will share their ideas with us, and we'll go back with some alternative ideas or why we think their idea will work or won't work. And take it from there.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're doing that free, first of all?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, just because, I don't know, I suppose it's not valuing our time or not having the confidence to charge for our time.
Yeah. You know, actually, the way we do it here, so because lots of people ask us the same thing, like about socials or whatever, our model is, so they'll reach out, I usually meet with them the first of all, and they're asking me all these questions. My thing is, I'll tell them how we think. So we talk to, like, whenever we do a pitch to anyone or we're sharing any information, I don't give them an idea. I just share them how we think about solving an idea. So they will know how I process through stuff. Like, this is what you're trying to do. This is how we'd go about finding an insight. And we'll use that insight to then develop a content series and blah, blah, blah. So I talk about, like, the process. But we don't necessarily give them the idea. And we say that to them because we're like, the actual idea, that could take 50 hours or it could take 5 seconds, depending on, you know, put the creatives in a room and they'll figure it out at some point. But the sales process that we go through with people is like, come in and have a coffee with me for free the first time. I'm not going to give you a bunch of ideas, but I'm going to like find out what it is that you need. Like, what is it that you're actually asking me for? Because a lot of the time they think they know. They come in, they go, oh, I think this is the thing. Can I get something? Typically by the end of the coffee, I've dissected what the problem really is and I've gone, this is it. And then the next conversation we have with them is not going to them to say, here's their solution. It's just, based on what you told me the other day, here's how we would think about solving that problem. If you want us to think about solving that problem, here's the cost. You know, here's what it would cost you us to do that. That's like, we've got a pretty good success rate. Obviously, the business has grown pretty well. But what you've actually done there is you've not just like jumped in and sold something for someone for free who then may or may not do anything with that information. But you've actually gone to them, no, like, I've really heard you. You said you wanted one thing. I'm the expert. I've told you that's not right. This is what's right. Then I've gone, let me go away, have a chat to the team, I'll come back. And then I go, this is how we'd go about solving it. And I give them like a real, like, first we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. So their clear future of their clear vision of the future is, oh, that's easy. I can understand how those steps work. And then I go, cool. And then this is how much you pay me for it. And like, you know, our numbers as our agency now isn't small, but what you've done is you've priced up, like, for them, you've actually given them a price for the solution to the thing, as opposed to not just the solution, but the execution on it. Because like actually, if you go in and just go, oh, here's the idea, what you could do, it'll be really cool and fun. There's the first question they're going to say is, yeah, but how? Like, how are we going to do all this? Like, how do we get to that point? That's really what they're thinking in their head. They don't really know how to articulate it. But if you've gone and mapped it all out and then you've set a price, they're like, oh, so if I pay you that much money, you'll get this, and then I'll get the thing out the other end that I wanted, which has made our sales process just so much more seamless. So I think that instead of like thinking about it, oh, value our time, think about it as a sales process. And at the start, I'm not going to give anything away except how we do the thing that we do. I'm just going to tell you how we think about stuff. What you'll end up finding is that number at the end ends up being way higher because you've actually like solved for all their issues and problems. You've not just gone, oh, I want a podcast. Oh, cool, you could do this and you could do that and you could do this. That there isn't really actually probably what they're really asking if you really dig into it. They're really actually like, can you just make me famous, or can you just make me have a cool podcast? Or, you know what I mean? That's what they're really asking you. Yeah. And so...
That's interesting. Did you... did you know this in the beginning, or have you just figured this out through trial and error?
Yeah, a lot of no's. A lot of no's, like you said. I understood. I think what I've always understood is I've always been. I joke around how like I'm pretty manipulative, and I've always understood how to get what I want from people.
Manipulative gets a bad rap, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It really does. But it's true. Like we got a client who talks about getting like it's manipulative is when you do something in spite of the other person, is what most people think. But actually, like when you come up with something and you push them towards an option that's good for both of you, it might not be 50-50, it might be 70% good for you, 30% good to them, but it's still good for them. That's not necessarily manipulative. It's just like a good outcome for everyone based on what it is happening. So I've always been pretty good at like getting my way of things. And then I just had to realize over time as like I got older and I realized that like you can't go and take advantage of people all the time because that'll bite you in the ass later on. So you actually have to do what's right for everyone as well. And so that's been a big thing and mantra of mine. So I've always done that. Like I know how to get my way, but then I've learned how to get my way that's also good for the other person. And then when I went out and started this business on my own, I didn't have it perfect, and I've gotten better and better. I'm still not perfect at it now, but I started to realize that actually all I'm doing in sales is finding out a position where both of us win. You're going to get what you want, I'm going to get what I want. And the best way to do that is to make sure you clearly understand what we're about to go through. And that I really know what it is that you want, and that no one knows what they want. That's the other thing I figured out. And I only figured that out probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
How do you mean?
Like no one knows what they're really asking for when they walk through the door. They have an idea in their head, and typically, like I said, they want to make you famous or a great podcast or whatever is actually what they've got. But they walk through the door a little bit of like thinking they're the expert, or they've got some idea that they want to go execute on. And so they come in, oh, I want this thing. Like they'll come into us and be like, oh, I really want a big personal brand or whatever. But they don't actually know what that means. They don't really understand it. So when you start to dissect it with them, they're actually going, well, actually my business is suffering right now. I have no way of generating consistent leads, blah, blah, blah. So you're really digging into what's the core problem that they got. That there, finding out the true thing that they're asking for and getting them to figure it out for themselves. Once you identify that with them, then it's on. Like you've got them line, hook and sinker right there, because they didn't really know what they wanted. Like people coming to you for a podcast don't really know that they want a podcast. They've just seen that you do podcasts. They know Dom Harvey, they know JJ or whatever it is. They've seen your company. They've heard podcasts are good. Hey, we want a podcast, you know? And then, but you like to really understand what it is that they want and getting down to that and figuring that and helping them identify it. That's when the sales become real easy. Because you're not just now paying for you to produce something, you're actually paying for you to deliver this other success outcome that they wanted, you know, like whatever that might be. And most people don't know that thing because they haven't really thought about it enough. That's why they come into you in the first place. So I spend that first hour, this is just going back to how you're saying you're valuing your time. In that first hour or whatever, first coffee I have with people, it's just trying to really get under the skin and go, well, what is it you really want? Like, what are you really trying to do? Why do you want that? And just, you know, the old 5 why things, just keep asking why until you figure out the root cause of what it is that they're trying to achieve. Because once you figure that out for them, then they're on. Like, now you're helping them solve something that they truly care about, as opposed to, like, a podcast. No one needs a podcast. But there are reasons for a podcast. There are lots of valid reasons to have one. and until they're crystal clear on what that is, and more often than not, it's like it's like, I wouldn't say vanity project. But
I was going to say that, like ego or vanity. There's definitely an element to that.
There's definitely.
Of course.
When I get a customer to get to the point of like, just make me famous, I'm like, cool, I got you. Like, I know where you're at, and we can do that, you know? That's so much better than, I want to do LinkedIn. It's like, no, you don't. You fucking hate LinkedIn.
Yeah, but shit, we've learned so much. Like the 5 why thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I only heard that like about a month ago. One of our clients
really?
is manager of a real estate firm, and he shared some sales strategies, and that was one of them. And I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, how old are you? What are you?
38.
38.
Yeah.
Fuck, you're young. You're a kid.
I feel it.
But it's I feel energized and invigorated.
Yeah,
like being in my 50s and
Yeah.
just trying something new.
Just trying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was the same. Even when I did it, like, I was pretty bored of hotels when I was in it, and then going out on your own and you've seen something build from scratch out of an idea in your head. Yeah, I think it's cool.
Because what's your goal here? Just have something that you can sell in 5 years, 10 years, or is this your baby and you're like attached to it?
Yeah, I'm definitely attached to it. It's definitely like my baby. Like, if someone came along with enough zeros, I'd probably sell it, but no one's going to offer me the money that I would sell for, because it's not really worth it. And they'll need me to be part of it as well to keep that value. And I wouldn't want to. If they're going to buy it off me, I'd just go, give me the money, I'm walking. And so no one will really do that. So I probably will never sell this business. But I also see it as like an engine room, like every other business I want to do. Because like, as an entrepreneur myself, I definitely want to start other businesses. And I've started little ones inside this business as we've done it. But I want to start other businesses. Those businesses are going to need marketing. They're going to need attention. And so this just becomes an engine room for other things. So we'll definitely like start other businesses, build them up, and then exit from those. That'd be ultimate goal. But yeah, like the real goal for this business is global domination, 100%. Like, just take over the world. That's all we want. Like, and I say that's all we want. That's a lot. But I often say that to people, and they're kind of like, "What the fuck do you mean?" And I truly mean, like, we just want to be the biggest agency there ever was. And I have no reason to. I don't need to build this. Like, my partner and I had good careers. Like, we've got enough money in our superannuation to retire on already. So, because we had, I ran hotels for a living and made good money, and so did my partner. So actually, it's either I go broke or I build the biggest agency in the world. There's just like nowhere in between.
But you'd also be terrible at retiring, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
you. And I'm closer to retirement age, a lot closer than what you are. But I don't know. As I get closer to that period, I realise it's not something that I necessarily want to do.
No.
You look at someone like Winston Peters. Say what you like about the dude, but he's like 80 years old. He looks sharp. Mentally, he's sharp. Wears a suit every day.
Yep.
And that's muscle memory.
Yeah.
But if he stopped working at 65, he'd probably be a decrepit old man.
100%. Yeah, I totally believe that. Yeah. I say it to my mum all the time. Yeah. Sorry, cut you off.
Yeah. Oh, no. I was just going back to something you said before about like a worldwide agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always had the confidence to sort of say that out loud? It's not very New Zealandy, is it?
No, it's not very New Zealandy. I've definitely had the confidence since I started the business. And I think the reason for that is I wasn't going to start it unless I did have that confidence. I think it wasn't until I had the confidence that I quit my job and went out and did it myself. I probably wouldn't have been this confident 10 years ago. But when I went out on my own 2019 and started this, like, I had the confidence to quit. Like, I had a good career. Like, I was earning good money in hotels, and I still had a long career ahead of me as well. And my partner and I, we had like the penthouse apartment in Melbourne, and had a good life. So to go out on my own, I had to have the confidence that this could work, that I could go for broke and just take off. But yeah, the more I say it, I mean, I get lots of people give me shit for, saying like, "Oh, what's your goals? Global domination, world's richest man." And like, why do you want those things? And I was like, just because it's just a measure, it's a score. Like, I don't really care if I do get it or not, but it's just a scorecard.
Yeah, and if that's where you're aiming to, you're more likely to end up there.
Yeah, even if I got halfway to being the richest person in the world, that's not bad.
What's your relationship like with tall poppy syndrome?
Oh, I didn't actually know what it was till I moved back. I didn't understand it was a thing. I definitely think it's, I have seen it a lot, obviously, in New Zealand. I have also seen that it's not a Kiwis and Aussies, especially Kiwis, think it's a very like Anzac sort of thing. But actually, the more I've lived abroad and travelled and whatnot, like we spent a good part of 6-7 months over the last 2 years in New York, and it's there as well. They just don't call it that, right? So I actually think it's just because it's talked about so much in New Zealand, it almost has become more prominent, if that makes sense. Like more people use it as an excuse or as a reason for people putting them down. But
sometimes, maybe you're an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there are people who are going to chop you down, but that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
It happens in the US. It happens everywhere. The US just do it with a smile. You know, they like, I find that like in the US, the people that I met there, they're a lot more open and they love success and they'll attach themselves to successful people. But they'll also chop people down and stab their back and sue them and do everything they can to pull them down. And like that's, when you think about all the things wrong with corporate America greed, it's like pulling people down.
Yeah.
They just don't call it tall poppy there. So like I probably get vilified for saying this sort of shit in New Zealand, but I just think tall poppy is just a label we've given ourselves. I think it's real, don't get me wrong, but I think it's real everywhere.
You say it's a universal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard it described in the States as like crabs in a bucket. You know, you see crabs climbing up a bucket and another crab will try and pull them back down.
Yeah.
So same sort of thing. I guess.
Same sort of thing.
But there does seem to be more in other parts of the world, like the States, for example, like more sort of encouragement, and you see someone successful and it's like, good for you, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Whereas here there's kind of like
You know, I think what it is, I think it's just there's more people and more things happening in the States, so there's more good stories. There's just more extremes of everything, right? And so if you want to find the good stories in the US, you'll find them.
Yeah.
You can find just as many bad stories of people getting pulled down. And in New Zealand, like our nature is a lot more pessimistic, I think. Obviously, like New Zealand culture versus US cultures, we're definitely more pessimistic than they are. And so we just look for the bad ones more often than we do in our own world. And so don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people who are trying to chop me down, and I've met them all along the path. But there's also just so many people who are pumping me up, who are just out here to see me win as well, like, and heaps of them. And so I just focus on them. Like, there's heaps of people who, like, give me shit or talk shit about behind my back, or I find out stuff about them or whatever. I was like, I haven't got time for you. There's so many people over here who are just like keen and love to see me win. Yeah,
you're too busy winning to worry about those people. Another thing I found is that you think people are thinking about you, but they're actually thinking about you way less than everyone's internal.
Exactly.
Everyone's worried about what other people aren't thinking about you as much as what you'd like to think they are.
They are. They got their own lives, their own bullshit. Yeah, and if like you said, like if they're too worried about, if they're out there like bagging me out, like it doesn't concern me. Like, what happens? Nothing happens from it. Like nothing happens if people piss in the wind and talk about me. Like I can't feel it. But what I do know is that I got so many supporters, and honestly, it's the supporters that I have that keep you going, because they pump you up and they give you lots of confidence, and you give it back to them, and it's like this cool virtuous cycle. Why would I like dwell on all the people who don't like me? Like, they obviously don't like me, so I don't give a fuck.
Well, you're well respected as well, and really well liked. Like I arrived here for this podcast today, and the lady that greeted me at reception made me a coffee. Yeah. She was telling me her backstory, how she worked with you in Melbourne, and then she came here, like gave up her job, came back here as an intern, working for free, really, because she believed in you. Immediately in the back of my mind, I was thinking, fuck the pressure for you.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, like it's a mouth to feed.
Oh, 100%. Oh, I mean, the pressure's what kept the business growing. Like when you, like I said, like about the payroll tomorrow, like that pressure of paying the payroll means like I've got to hustle and get out there and do stuff. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of pressure, but I think for me, like I've always been good in a crisis. That's like a thing that I'm always good. I'm always pretty level-headed at all times. So when everything's tough and the pressure's on, I'm probably at my best. When things get a bit too easy, like my wife talks about, like I can't get bored at work, otherwise I'll burn the place down. So I've got to keep it interesting.
Have you got ADHD traits?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
I've never been diagnosed or nothing. And we've talked about it before, and I don't want to like discredit people who have, but yeah, for sure. Like I think it's pretty hard to be an entrepreneur without something like that to make you go outside the norms of what everyone else is doing. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so much pressure. And there's that saying that pressure is a privilege, but also like pressure is just pressure as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's stressful. Keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
Makes you fat.
Makes you fat.
Oh, for sure. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean? You're a runner now.
I'm a runner and I've lost some weight because of it, but definitely the pressure, the stress, like it makes you eat the wrong things and not do things that you should be doing and whatnot. But it's good.
You seem ruthlessly self-disciplined. Like you're able to say, "Oh, I'm not going to drink this year," and then you just don't.
Yeah.
Have you done 75 hard?
I haven't.
You're familiar with it?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I haven't. I mean, to be honest, my life used to be 75 hard. Like I've never seen someone that I'd train twice a day and do all sorts of stuff. These days, I don't quite have the energy or the time to do it. But
the bandwidth.
I am someone who can just like decide to do something and just do it and just put all my focus. I mean, that's the ADHD trait, right? It's just like hyper focus on things. And so I am able to do that. So like running, like just from never running to like, I don't know, I think I've done like 7 half marathons this year already. And
not actual events, just like training runs.
Just on a Sunday because I can, kind of thing.
What do you listen to? Like podcasts or Audible?
Books. Audible books. Yeah.
It's great use of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Connor behind you is telling me off for running over time, so I'm gonna have to wrap up. But
this is your business.
But yeah,
fire him, Connor. You're fired.
There you go, Dom fired you. But we should definitely do this again, and maybe on your podcast. But I
100%. I'd love that.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed. My biggest takeaway from today was just hearing how, well, for other people to hear someone who was so successful in the spotlight for so long have those same self-doubts that people with no spotlight are having. And actually the trick is just to keep going, moving forward, one foot in front of the other, which I thought was pretty impressive, especially someone at your stage of your career, quitting everything to just do their own thing is pretty impressive, pretty inspiring.
Honestly, at times like debilitating or crippling self-doubt. But one thing I have is I've got half a century now of data that I'm able to make shit happen. Yeah. And if things get tough, I'm able to get through it.
Yeah, I love it.
You know how sometimes you reach problems and you think, how the fuck am I going to solve this?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you've done this before.
Yeah.
Many times.
Love it. Awesome, mate. Hey, pleasure. Thanks, man.
Lovely to connect.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for coming on.